So enigmatic and charismatic, gotta live static, gotta get at it, never pragmatic, cause we live tragic. I can't live average, to be alive's magic. Turn it up in the back cause I'm grabbing everything I want, get in my way and I'm stabbing. I'll be moving crowds till I'm 6 feet napping. They need another fix, hooked on like an addict. I got my eyes on the prize and it's changing lives. I wanna live till I die, make a difference, right? I wanna give those in need a reason to fight. I wanna live every day like it's my last night. I wanna change how we play the game, rearrange all the pieces till they say my name, push an agenda against doing what they say. I wanna stand up and start a revolution. I wanna 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 start a revolution. I'm on top now, while me kissing babies. Call me out, president, boss tool, hate me. I'ma trust my gut, you don't faze me. I'ma give my blood, don't save me. Damn it's never enough, still chasing every single dream that I've had since I was 18. I wanna start a revolution. I wanna start a revolution. I wanna start a revolution. I wanna start a revolution.
Breaking news out of Placer County. 16-year-old Kiely Rodni.
Kylie Rodney.
Kylie 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 Rodni.
Kylie Rodni is
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodney.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodney.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodney.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodney.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodney.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodney.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodney.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodney.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodney.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodney.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodney.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodni. Kylie Rodni. Kylie Rodni. Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodney.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodney.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodney.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodney. Kylie Rodney.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodney.
Kylie Rodni. Kylie Rodni. Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodney.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodney.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodney.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodney.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodney.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodney.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodney.
Kylie Rodni. Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodni. Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodney.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodni. Kylie Rodni. Kylie Rodni. Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodney.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodney.
Kylie Rodni. Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodney. Kylie Rodney.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodney.
Kylie Rodni. Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodney.
Kylie Rodni.
Kylie Rodney.
I'm rooting so much for this sweet girl. I really, truly am. the more I get insight of who Kiely Rodni was, her status in comparison to the mean girls that she was up against. There's just a lot of things that I feel we need to be focusing on, and it's always going back to the beginning. Before I continue showing you guys videos that I have saved throughout my computer, which I'm going to make a habit of going through these all this week. I don't know if I will be live every single day. I'm going to try to, because there is hours and hours and hours and hours upon hours of videos that we need to stay focused on. This made me go,
Who was fighting at the party? The girl and guy. Look into them. Was there a fight at the party?
Yeah, so there were some friendly fights that were
screen.
going on. There was, like, we had boxing gloves. People were, like, trying to instigate. It wasn't anybody who had really any drama or they weren't enemies or anything. It was more just friendly fights to keep entertainment going. This happens at a lot of our parties. We just do it to have fun. If somebody gets hurt,
that's
like,
a black eye. If I ever saw one.
So it wasn't like a fight out of anger. It was just kind of a
Damn, girl, what's happening to you? Seems like you're getting a whole lot of whoop ass happening to you. Why is that? What's happening?
So it wasn't like a fight out of anger. It was just kind of a just a fun competition type of fighting.
Yeah, just see who wins and who goes home with the title. Which I will grandly admit, people do end up getting in fights over who won, but not this time.
Dangerous woman, huh? I'll bet. Alright, this is the video. If you guys are not subscribed to this channel, I highly recommend subscribing, going and showing your support. I hope they continue to make videos. I mean, even if this is their only one video, I'm really glad that they put all of this together in the manner that they did. I'm going to go ahead and share the link to the video. Make sure you get over there, give it a thumbs up. I can't believe it only has 11 thumbs up, so we're going to get some play on this. For sure. For sure. Alright, y'all. That's one hell of a shiner, huh? And then all them contusions and scrapes all over her face. She said a dolphin did that? A dolphin or what? I don't know. I don't know what's going on with her, but it's tragic. Alright, yo. Pay attention. Pay attention. Look, I'll pause it if I have to. They're so... Look. The way that they put this all together is how I see things in my head. And I'm really glad that there are more people putting this type of information instead of doing a live on it where, like, shit gets lost in translation. I'm thankful that people continue to put informative videos together with the information that's super important, which is these doctors, these professionals that have come forward and spoken on it. Ed Wallace, all of them. Barbara Butcher, Draw Latina. Keep talking about Kiely, y'all. Alright, let's get this. This is good shit. It's an hour and 20 minutes long. Buckle up, because it's important. It's something. Manipulated. Very manipulated. Dude, straight called it out. Look, I'm just gonna rewind this part. I'll read it to you. Yeah, like, this video came out. It was really weird. Like, I could have sworn that I saw it like 5 or 6 days ago, and then, like, when I went to go, like, watch it, it was private. Couldn't watch it anymore. I was like, well, I'm really glad that I watched that, because fuck yeah. And then today, was it earlier today, this morning, I got a notification, it was like an hour ago, that it was relisted as public. And I was like, oh, you don't say. So, if y'all have not watched this, if you're not subscribed, highly, highly, highly recommend Jane's Journey. Look, and I don't disagree with this, okay? The last seen with person was a teenager who conducted interviews and gathered evidence while the cops watched. I kid you not. Look at them wounds, dude. All over her legs, her fingernails, her palm of her hand, her fucking lip, the side of her head. That is not Kiely Rodni. That looks like Lucy Dem to me. And the blue pants there. The white tank top. With what looks like the phone or something tucked into the side of her. Maybe some beer cans sticking out of her pocket. Who the fuck knows? Not one video was released. Not one. I'm not buying it either. Not buying what you're selling. Yeah! There was unimaginable, and that's why I've been revisiting what we are right now, because there literally is, like, the chaos and mayhem. Like, look at the spokesperson for fucking Truckee on YouTube is Megan Cole, y'all. Okay? That's all it is. And that's what I'm thinking, Patty Cake. You know what I mean? I'm starting to wonder, like, when it starts in high school, you know? Like the age of 17? Yeah, and it is! It is America's playground for the fucking filthy rich. Coming in and out of their vacation homes. You know? Short-term rentals. Yeah. Kiely is not the type of people that were at this party. She wasn't. Was not. I hope Mags tells the truth for Kiely. So many people that could tell the truth for Kiely. Fucking sickening. Yep, sure can. I can't wait. Yep. Yep.
Adventures with Purpose arrived and managed to locate her vehicle in only 14 feet of water, 55 feet from the shore, right next to where she was last seen and where her last phone ping was. They found Kiely despite being told by authorities that the lake had already been thoroughly searched.
It is the reason why we're here is because of the community support and the amount of work that was put into this investigation to where we could clearly identify very specific areas to search. The Adventures with Purpose.
You missed the car for 16 days.
At being able to locate the vehicle as quickly as they did, based on, again, a lot of heavy lifting that
heavy lifting, you don't say. Like a car? heavy lifting, what? I'm gonna listen to this one more time.
Already been thoroughly searched.
It is the reason why we're here is because of the community support.
The communities.
And the amount of work that was put into this investigation to where we could clearly identify.
Not the locals, the community. They keep saying it. They keep saying it, the community.
The reason why we're here is because of the community support and the amount of work that was put into this investigation to where we could clearly identify very specific areas to search. The Adventures with Purpose folks did just a fantastic job at being able to locate the vehicle as quickly as they did, based on, again, a lot of heavy lifting that the folks behind me have done throughout the last couple of weeks.
You don't say. Heavy lifting. Something. Them some words to choose.
Heavy lifting that the folks behind me have done throughout the last couple of weeks.
What?
We're struggling with clues, and so searches aren't super successful if you don't have a direction of where to search.
Yeah, the ping for the data points and everything were near the water. It's not a very big lake overall. It's a man-made reservoir.
And what's the name?
Exactly. It's not that big. With the technology you have, the shit that you do, the search and rescue things that you do, there is no reason that you missed this car. Unless it wasn't there yet. Y'all, every single one of them looks sus and sus.
It's not a very big lake overall. It's a man-made reservoir.
And what's the name of the dive team?
There's a lot of teams out there, so I don't know specifically. I know Alameda was mentioned. I don't know which all teams were brought in.
We were tasked on that particular event with looking for a cell phone.
This is really good.
So they
Tyler Feller.
were asked by the investigators and the county sheriff that was leading that investigation to search the shoreline from the bank of the lake 25 feet outward and stop and stay on that line, that depth along abreast of.
Wow. So they were 20. They were halfway there.
They were halfway there.
But he says 25 foot outward. And the other statements that they made is that they, just divers alone, searched out 60 feet. Locals will tell you that divers searched out 60 feet. The ROV was all over that shit. Why didn't an ROV see a car? Why didn't a helicopter see a car? Was it not there yet? Like, make it make sense. Because look, if you're diving out to here, and they're kayaking here.
Investigation to search the shoreline from the bank of the lake 25 feet outward and stop and stay on that line.
Look, LEN, both of the communities spelled Kiely.
Outward and stop.
Listen.
Line from the bank of the lake 25 feet outward and stop and stay on that line, that depth along abreast of.
Wow. So they were 20. They were halfway there.
They were halfway there.
It typically for us in such, that was extremely shallow waters, and that was rare for us to have that visibility.
It's like going through mud. So these are tough operations.
Like Paul was saying, it's typically what we're finding stuff in that you can't see in, or it would have been found.
Doug Bishop, it's time for you to tell the truth for Kiely Rodni. All of these people tell the truth for Kiely.
And it's typically what we're finding stuff in that you can't see in, or it would have been found already.
A diving operation like that is really almost like you're going into the water blind, and they're basically searching with hands.
It was very shallow, no current, great visibility.
And tracking underwater is an extremely difficult thing to do.
Well, that was very easy for us to do.
We're appreciative that they were able to come out and locate it. I also don't want to take away, though, from anything from our volunteers, as well as law enforcement that have been out there. I mean, we literally had people swim.
18 months has passed, and not one of these agencies has released a report. The FBI, the California Highway Patrol, CHP-MAIT, Placer County Sheriff's Department, Nevada County Sheriff's Department, and Truckee PD. Case is closed. Well, then, where's all the... Okay, show me what you got. Yep. I know y'all gonna love this part. This is just brilliantly clipped together. Absolutely. Yep. Yes.
I'm going to briefly speak to you all today. Really, it's a commentary and reflection regarding the Kiely Rodni autopsy/coroner medical investigation publication that came out 2 days ago. Prior to making any brief commentary on that, I did want to mention that I am a board-certified family practitioner, which means that I delivered thousands of babies over the 30 years that I've been in practice. I've also taken care of newborns, pediatrics, adolescents, young adults and geriatric patients from an internal medicine perspective. I have a fellowship from Brown Medical School in maternal child health and obstetrics. And I also have many, many years of psychiatry training. I have sadly dealt with victims of domestic violence, children in SA situations, over the many years that I have been in practice. Seen some of my patients suicide from overdoses of unintentional overdoses, intentional overdoses, etc. So I'm quite seasoned in attending the examination
She's a professional
of deceased individuals. Also,
absolutely,
in
Tasha.
Being present at crime scenes, fatal car accidents, emergency room traumas, trauma surgery, in helping to assist trauma surgeons, and sadly, dozens of families I've unfortunately had to sit with and notify them
Jane's journey.
of the death of a loved one. And we always do this in person.
Yep.
We always sit down.
Yep.
Look at the patient's
yep.
family.
Yep.
And we tell them.
To their face.
News. It's never done by telephone.
Facts. Okay? And then on the autopsy it says, I called the decedent's parents, Daniel Rodni and Lindsay Rodney Neiman. I offered to meet with Daniel and Lindsay, and they both told me to update them on the phone.
Basically, this statement said in this article, and again, I'll link this, that especially when looking at the potential for a drowning victim, it is paramount for all agencies to coordinate one with the other, to communicate one with the other, because especially if concerned about a drowning versus a drowning suicide versus a homicide, and then somebody was dumped, so to speak, in a body of water, every single aspect of the case needs to be communicated in a very transparent fashion,
and it was
amongst agencies.
Has not yet.
So that when the autopsy report or any of the investigative documents are published, they are published in a very cogent, easy to read, but complete manner. So I wanted to bring that to the fore. As a touch point, I want to make a quote, and I'm actually going to read it right now from something I wrote from this article, and that is, quote, a submerged vehicle containing a body or bodies should be transported in its entirety to the medical examiner's office
of the FBI
for in situ exam of the body and the vehicle to provide clues. Okay, so I'm throwing out concepts and ideas to you all, and I'm going to have you all go back to look at the documentation. But the question would be, I'm just going to ask.
Look, I want to know if the FBI swabbed the steering wheel and it came up that there was no DNA on it other than Frickberg's because she mucked it all up. I don't know. Trace DNA of other people, I wonder.
The question, I'm sure you all know the answer. Was Kiely's body removed from the vehicle and taken alone?
I often wonder if they didn't call on Nick to help it in the water.
To the ME's office, or was the vehicle removed in the position that it was found. So in other words, it was found on its sort of on its roof. Was it removed from the water like that, not flipped, so as not to juggle the body or the location of the body or any evidence that might have spilled out, but that it was appropriately removed, not flipped, and taken to the medical examiner's office en masse, we say. E-N, mass, M-A-S-S-E, together. And that is important, because if there was, for instance, any form of tethering of a body or even a seatbelt that may have inadvertently or purposefully been placed over, in this case, Kiely, and pulled out of the tailgate and then the tailgate shut to hold her in place.
You see what I'm saying? Like, I love this woman. I love this woman.
Purposefully been placed over, in this case, Kiely, and pulled out of the tailgate and then the tailgate shut to hold her in place.
Yeah.
We need to...
Where's the documentation? Because we know you went there, dove down in, as you're flipping a car, doing all that shit. That strap that was hanging out the back of the car, where did it go? What was it? Was something tethered in it? Like, what's that for? You know, I want to see the proper investigation.
To know that. And so hopefully photographs were taken very carefully of her position, anything inside, by law enforcement prior to them ever even moving the car. And then hopefully not moving the car from its found position, protecting all windows if they were broken out, etc., in order to prevent any
so sad
loss of evidence, etc.
And then when you look at all of the extractions that all of the professional companies around there with like their cranes and the way that they take semis out of ditches and shit is, I mean, they do it to any type of other, like, I don't understand why they did not do it with Kiely Rodni. Grab her car with tow chains and pull it up, straight up, just like it was. What the FBI would have done. But it was your guys' call, and that's the call you made, to flip it and throw all her shit everywhere that was already thrown out of her car.
And then once the car has come out, to move, before opening a tailgate, etc., to move en masse the body with the car.
Yeah.
And then for the investigators to be able to, again, chain of custody, step by step, with excellent documentation and communication, note how prior to opening the tailgate, prior to moving the car out of its found position, how was the body found?
Like, that's the thing, Tasha. There's no proof of anything. There's no proof of last life. There's no proof of anything other than everything going back to Sammy.
This is very important. And I will say no more on that.
Like, and the thing is, and this is such a high profile case. That strap. There it is, right there. Plain as day. Look, and the thing of it is I watch you guys take 76 balls on shopping carts, take them to the school, and hang them up. Like the big, giant 76 balls. I see the games y'all play. I see what these kids do. And I wouldn't put it past them to put a girl in her car. So that she don't float on them, flipping it. I mean, look at all the kids around there. They work on vehicles. They put, you know what I mean, engine swaps. Something went down that night where they blocked the road. We heard the stories of them jumping on a vehicle with bats and shit. Was that Kiely Rodni's car? Because by the look of the damages, I'm going to go with yes. Yep. And only two things look like that. The middle seat belt, and you know them toe straps? You know what I'm talking about? The toe straps where a lot of these kids, when they go surfing the wave of a boat, they just using straps. What kind of middle seatbelt, know what I mean?
Flipped, so as not to juggle the body or the location
So I'm
of
saying,
the body.
You wouldn't want to do anything that they...
Any evidence that might have spilled out.
They made sure they destroyed the evidence. They made sure that the crime scene got fucked. They made sure whoever they were protecting got away with blaming the dead girl. And knowing how these kids lie to the parents. I watch you guys on social media. Like, I've been paying attention a lot. And, like, how much they've admitted on their own social medias about how they lie to their parents about drugs being found on them and all kinds of crazy shit. Yeah, they're gonna lie to their parents about being at a party that a girl went missing.
Location of the body or any evidence that might have spilled out.
Most of these kids are rich snots.
Removed, not flipped, and taken to the medical examiner's office en masse, we say. E-N, mass, M-A-S-S-E, together.
Fucking A, right, Patty
And that is important.
After adventures with purpose found Kiely, authorities arrived.
Look, you know why you can't find pictures of Kiely with any of these other people, especially Sammy and all these kids that were at this party? Is because none of those people other than Mags were really friends with Kiely that were at this party. I want to know who set fucking Mags up to bring Kiely to that party.
S-E, together. And that is important.
After adventures with purpose found Kiely, authorities arrived and retrieved the vehicle by first flipping it underwater. 2 windows were already opened and they managed to break another one so that Kiely's belongings flew out into the water. And they were left there for over 2 weeks until a civilian found several items. Law enforcement were given the evidence but never entered the water themselves to see if anything else was down there still. The next day, on request of the family, the same guy went in and retrieved more items.
Yeah, so once the car was located, dive teams were assembled. I believe Placer County was probably still the primary dive team. They have to use lots of devices to lift the car, turn it over, and then the use of tow trucks was what made it possible for pulling the vehicle out of the water.
In forensics, we have standards and we have protocols for everything that we do in evidence collection, okay? And they were not followed, okay? And that's the plain, down and dirty, simple truth of the matter. It was not followed. There's only 2 reasons to deviate from a protocol or a standard, and that's life safety and evidence preservation. And neither of those 2 things, well, in terms of life safety, that didn't occur here. And evidence preservation obviously didn't occur here.
For real!
Hi, this is Dr. Amy Salerno, also known as Doctora Latina or Draw Latina. with this, what I deem evidence-informed, evidence-based, data-driven, systematic approach to understanding autopsy and to understanding chain of custody, chain of command, importance of communication amongst law enforcement agencies, amongst the medical community.
You know who's gonna shit himself that he's featured in this a few times? Our Mark Molina is featured in this video. Mad props.
And agencies, and very importantly, the resultant, transparent, open, cogent, and comprehensive communication style that agencies bring to the table.
I love this lady.
In order to inform the public.
To review Kiely Rodni's autopsy in terms of errors and inconsistencies. And every time I see one, I'm going to mark it with this blue mustache symbol you can see on the right. The very first document I wanted to have a look at is Kiely's autopsy record that came from Nevada County Sheriff's Office, and it does not have a date. So it does mention the date of the examination, which is August 23rd, but the document itself has no date. And
she's another one, like, even if they wouldn't continue doing videos, what information they put out there, solid fucking information.
There's no page number, so it's kind of just floating in the documentation package on its own. The next page after this is the report of autopsy that starts with page 1, line 1. So we can assume that maybe this is a cover page, but how can a cover page have no annotation of a date? And then the signature of the medical legal certifier who certifies the cause of death should be signed in permanent black ink. But Mr. Gregory Reber got his own pen, looks like.
Is this why you're retired now between this, Trinity, and Dante's autopsies? Sounded retired, wasn't it?
Which was not black.
With your blue pen and white out.
Using electronic authentication, which is also permitted. What do you guys think? But then if it's electronic, you can kind of adjust.
Look, in my opinion, I think he protected his ass by signing it in blue ink. And see that little brain sample there that's whited out? I wonder if he did this to protect his ass.
Just the saturation and make
Who signed off on this?
Rubber stamps are not permitted, and neither are blue pens, actually. And if you're wondering where I'm taking this information, it's straight from the CDC. This week I was reading their medical examiners and coroners handbook on death registration, and a good resource, a good source was the chapter on general instructions for completing certificates and reports, and I highly advise anyone who worked on this documentation package to familiarize themselves with this handbook. The handbook had no information about using whiteout, and this image on the right comes from the autopsy record, so we're zooming into the specimens taken part. And if we look at it like a medical document, any error in documentation should have a single line written through it, this way or this way, and initialed by the person doing the correction. And as far as I know, you're also supposed to put the date on the correction. While this is not technically the law, the use of corrective materials in a medical record can suggest improper altering of a medical record, which is illegal. This part gets a mustache. If we look at the document in terms of forensics, altered forensic documents should be sent to Police Department Crime Laboratory Division to be examined for evidence of alterations, including erasures, discoloration, and smearing of printed entries, which I think we're seeing here because these ticks right here appear printed. This box right here appears whited out, which is illegal on a medical document as well as on a forensic document. It also mentions that stock tissue was collected as well as toxicology, and let's remember that. So liver was report of autopsy. It's the last page of this report we're looking at here. Well, this is just fabulous because Mr. Reber, MD, carrying on with his blue pen, and then he also looks like didn't have time to know the year using 4 digits, because if someone in the healthcare or medical environment put a date like this, which can be adjusted to 2000, it just doesn't work. It needs to be 4 digits, and that's actually what you see throughout all the documentation in this package. And what caught my eye was that they call Detective Josephine Strachan Josie, which is not her legal name. Why are they calling her Josie on a legal document? Next document is the coroner's final report.
Dude, I'm glad
it was
we're
also
revisiting this.
produced
I'm glad
by
this video is
Nevada
put together.
County Sheriff's Office and Sheriff Moon, and she keeps surprising me. One document is undated, and then this document is dated, but the date is partially italicized, or like the 10 looks drunk and leaning to the right.
That's what I heard. I used to say it. I used to tell her all the time, look like it's drunk.
Look how the address is spelled out here. It's 8600 Cold Stream Road. And this is the legal address. This is the Google Maps address. But the address on the coroner's final report on investigation and the incident report, it spells it differently. So I am guessing the sheriff's office would know it better than Google. Let me know in the comments, you guys. What do you think? And next, let's look at
I think there's
the
both.
incident
I think one
report.
has a space and one
this
doesn't.
one got a
It's
lot of
branch off of each
mustaches
other.
from me. I'm going to go through them one by one in the following slides. And actually, who inspired me to do this was Girls on Fire. It's an amazing channel. Shen has a great sense of humor, and she also has an incredible eye for detail and great organization skills. She pointed out that place of birth, citizen status, Kiely's status as a juvenile, and her SSN were all missing. So please go check out her channel. The link will be down below. So we put all
this
our
video is about
mustaches
to blow
here.
y'all's
Let's pull
mind
out,
the way it's put together.
our guidebook, handbook, and see what it says
done.
about the place of birth. So I want to point out first that this was filled in on the 21st of August. So Kiely has been missing for a little over 2 weeks at this point. And it surprises me that her place of birth is just blank, because if no information is available about a kid who's been missing for over 2 weeks,
police report, you're going to want to know their place of birth in case they might go back.
You can't
but
really leave it blank like that. In
In
terms of the social security number, could it have been omitted due to
redacted?
her
It should be blacked out though.
Minor? It's possible.
It should be blacked out though.
But then I would rather expect to see it redacted, not blank. If this is left blank, it means that the informant does not know the decedent's SSN at the time of the interview.
I can't see.
So how can it be? I'm assuming her family would be the informant. How can it be that no one by the 21st knew her social security number? That's odd to me. Amongst other cabinet of oddities that this documentation package is. Next is Kiely was mentioned to be not a juvenile. If we look at this report as a forensic medical document, so in terms of the medical part, and this categorization is also used in pharmacology, the juvenile is someone between the age of an infant and an adult. So if she's not a juvenile, medically speaking, she's an adult, which she can't be at age 16. And then from the legal perspective, juvenile falls between this age, the cutoff of which is 7 years, and then, you know, if the kid does something really harmful, they can be taken to the juvenile court. But until they're 7, through common law, the child is not capable of committing a crime. Here again, we see that, like, if Kiely is not a juvenile, she's an adult through this system as well. So these two systems kind of mirror each other. And actually, I wanted to take a look at the juvenile cutoff age, which I looked up on the website of the Interstate Commission for Juveniles. It's a fresh report, 2022. And we see that in California, the
age of
cutoff
criminal
age
responsibility
is 18,
majority.
But then if the kid does something severe, the age of criminal responsibility starts
at 16.
And it means that that kid can be taken to adult court
juvenile case
so it
can
can
be
just be taken to
transferred
adult
to
court. We see that 16 is the juvenile age. So the report of the autopsy, I've never seen.
Which means, guess what, Sammy and kids that are, you're just turning 18. No, you can still be prosecuted as an adult in a criminal case.
Anything like this on a medical or forensic document, because they are.
But at this point, 18 months has passed and you ain't told the truth. So now it's going to look really, really bad that you didn't take a plea deal.
Rounding the weight to the nearest 10. Kiely's heart was 90 grams, right lung 100.
These people think that retiring and moving and doing all this crazy shit is just gonna make it go away. No, you still need to take an oath under the court of law and tell your side of it.
Left lung 110,
you explain
liver 400,
all this.
Kidneys 50 and 70, spleen 40 grams, brain 1,000 grams or 1 kilogram. Usually in medical documentation, we see rounding to the nearest whole or half. So this would be like 104 or 104.4. So something like that. But I've never seen a document with these roundings. Again, if you guys know the details of why it could have been done this way, please let me know. And then the
Okay, and it does say Kiely's organs seem a little small for her body, except for like her brain and a couple others. Yeah. Let's do it.
Weights in grams, and what we do is we say we look at averages, and so the average weight of a person who's drowned in lake water, and of course it depends on the measure and the level of decomposition, but the average drowning victim has a combined right and left lung weight of 1,300 grams plus or minus about 400 grams. So the combined weights that you would be looking for as one of your constellation points would be, does this victim have a combined right and left lung weight of about 900 to about 1,700 grams? So go back and see what was, in the case of Kiely Rodni, the combined right and left lung, the summation of those weights.
Something not right.
They were not near.
Sounds like no water in the lungs. Sounds like they were, her lungs were dead before she was put in the water.
In lake water, freshwater drownings. In saltwater, it's actually quite a bit more. Okay. There are other findings on.
Like Lord of the Flies. Organomegaly can be a sign of disease and pathology, although standard tables defining organomegaly have yet to be established and universally accepted. The study was designed to address the issue and determine a normal weight for the major organs in adult human females. A prospective study was undertaken of healthy females who had sudden traumatic deaths at the age of 18 to 35. Cases were excluded if there was a history of medical illness, including illicit drug use. Prolonged medical treatment was performed. There was a prolonged period between the time of injury and death, body length, and weight. Okay. Okay. The majority of decedents died of either a ballistic or blunt force. The mean brain weight was 1,233 grams. Liver 1,288. Spleen 115. Right lung 340. Left lung 299. Right kidney 108. Left kidney 116. Damn. Damn. It's like she was dehydrated. Like she was dehydrated. Yeah, and she shouldn't be dehydrated. Like, that's the thing. Wow, her lip. $400. What? Y'all, are you seeing this in real time? I'm really glad this is happening. She sure did, Miss G. She stopped breathing on dry land. Because look, if she drowned and she was in water that long, got some splaining to do. Even decomposition isn't going to make them weigh this light. Not in water. This is crazy town. I don't think y'all are ready for this, but it needs to happen. That's age and days, dude. Look, what caused all of this dehydration of a body other than to be kept in a vehicle somewhere and then eventually submerging it into water? In my opinion, what would make her body weight that light? Or her organ weight, I should say. Something just don't sound right. And I've gone through all of this shit, like, and I'm really glad that they're breaking this down, that this is one solid video. We read through this entire website. I think I made a scroll video. Yep.
I received a phone call from Captain Sam Brown. Captain Brown told me the decedent in case 122-02506 had been positively identified as Kiely Rodni.
How?
F. The body showed obvious signs of bloating, lividity, and
look, there's no way that Kylie's mom went there and identified her when they were doing everything over the phone. There's no way. No way. No way. I'm sorry, if my child, I would be wanting to see myself.
The body showed obvious signs of bloating, lividity, and decomposition. There was skin sloughing, and no positive ID could be made due to the decomposition present on the face. More positive ID of the decedent had been made by Detective Josephine Strachan during the autopsy. Detective Strachan was present during the autopsy and documented her observations.
And for how much Josephine Strachan makes and Detective Saunier, I can't believe that, I mean, especially Josephine Strachan. She didn't wonder why her organ weights weren't adding up. They're just insane to me.
And the method of ID and a supplemental report to the original missing persons report. Statements: I was advised by Detective Saunier that he believed the decedent was Kiely Mae Rodni based on his investigation. This report was forwarded to the Coroner Division by Deputy Mackey with the Patrol Division on August 23, 2022. Placer County Forensic Pathologist Dr. Gregory Reber, MD, performed an autopsy on the remains of Kiely. Positive ID of the decedent had been made by Detective Josephine Strachan during the autopsy.
Oh, is that
Detective
right?
Strachan was present during the autopsy. The body showed obvious signs of bloating, lividity, and decomposition. There was skin sloughing, and no positive ID could be made due to the decomposition present on the face. No positive ID could be made due to the decomposition present on the face.
That is best practices, fingerprinting. But obviously we know that unless you've been fingerprinted because you are required by your job, like for me, I'm fingerprinted throughout the years because of the type of work that I do, or if you've been arrested, if
their method of ID was bullshit. Yep.
Wants to adopt a child domestically or internationally, their fingerprints are required. So there are reasons that fingerprints are on record, right? But if a person like Kiely, let's say, was 16, never arrested, how can we know what her fingerprints are? So the ideal identifying method is fingerprinting.
Why? There was no dental records pulled up for a missing kid. Nothing's said about the fingerprints.
When they did the DNA
no
card
mention
on her,
of them being taken. And then she might have also been identified, but her hard why?
On the final day?
There was no dental records pulled up for a missing
For
kid.
real?
Nothing's
With
said about the
braces and
fingerprints.
shit?
No.
I don't know, man.
As we say in medical school, as we learned in the first year, second year, third year, all the way up through my fellowship,
nothing in her case was followed to protocol. Nothing.
And on. Medico-legally, if a medical document, does not contain information, it wasn't done.
Yep.
Teeth, there's still a way to obtain DNA, and it has to be mitochondrial DNA. And then they use that DNA, post-mortem, after death DNA, from the dentin, which is below the enamel of the teeth, from bone marrow, etc. And they have a comparison, hopefully, from the toothbrush and or hairbrush.
And there was a hairbrush floating in her car. So I just... A hairbrush from home, like, just, I don't understand. Where did they use 19,000 man hours on what then?
The person in question. And by using pre-death or pre-mortem sample from somebody's toothbrush or hairbrush, they make a comparison, mitochondrial DNA comparison with the DNA found in those areas of the body that we have discussed.
document here, it says that for toxicology, the liver tissue was collected, which is in line with cover page, unnumbered, undated. And then the materials for histology, which is an examination of cells, sections of the major organs, plural, are saved as stock tissue. So I'm very interested to hear more about that. What are the sections of the major organs? Were they eligible for DNA identification, which they totally should? And then this line right here, number 197, says evidence. And I am assuming that this is evidence collected during the autopsy itself. And it mentions brushings, swabs and smears, and a DNA card. I know that on the 21st, the sheriff's office came with this incident report where they're saying that no DNA was taken and the DNA collection was not refused either. But if we look at the date, so this is on the 21st, and then on the 23rd, a DNA card is mentioned. So I wonder if that might be how Kiely might have been identified. But considering that she was identified during the autopsy, how did they run a DNA sample in a few hours? I don't know. I'm skeptical, but that would be very impressive. Let's continue.
So well done. Here we go.
Trauma, an area of postmortem change on the left wrist at the radial side is about 4.5 centimeters by 1.5 centimeters, where there's a splitting of the exposed dermis, which exposes underlying soft tissue. So we know she had that from a recent surgery, that scar on her left wrist.
Looked at also has a supplement page. It's called supplement number 3. This was reported on October 12th. The interesting part for me here is that Detective Josephine, or Detective Josie, as Sheriff Moon calls her on a legal document. So the detective was present during the autopsy and documented her observations and the method of identification that remains unknown to the public as of today. But they say that there's a supplemental report number 14 where she is sharing and documenting her method of identification. And I am also curious to see this report because she would only really have a few routes here. It could either be the DNA card that was mentioned in the document by Sheriff Moon and Mr. Reber, MD, dental records, which we remember they were unknown in August. I don't know why. There was.
And that's the thing, is they needed her, and I hate to say it, after sloshing her poor body around like they did already, they literally waited 2 solid days. Once the body comes out, as soon as the body leaves the water, it starts decomposing rapidly. And then they waited 2 days, I think, to make it look like she was in the water for 2 weeks. They fucked up in that process.
There was no dental records pulled up for a missing kid. Nothing said about the fingerprints. No mention of them being taken. And then she might have also been identified by her hardware serial number. Let's just read the part of the incident report that talks about it. Orthopedic hardware, and you can see it here on the images. So on the right is the right hand, left image is the left hand, so Kiely's was in her left hand. Orthopedic hardware attached to the ventral surface, and ventral surface or ventral side refers to the front of the body, of the distal radius, and distal means away from the center of the body, away from the midline of the body. And the radius is just this bone, like this bigger bone that's on the outside of our arm. It's ulna and radius, and so Kiely's was fractured or broken. And basically distal radius is just wrist. Next, we read that the hardware consists of stainless steel, 2-column volar plate held in place by multiple screws. So 2-column means that it literally has 2 columns. The one on the left has 1 column. It's 1 solid plate, and the one on the right is the kind that Kiely had. It's a 2-column plate, and it's held in place by multiple screws. So these colorful screws in the image. And volar plate is just a metallic device. In her case, it was stainless steel. I've also heard some questions on
Yep. Yep. Nope. Nope. It fell Kiely. This is not a normal investigation or autopsy. This does not say drowning.
Mr. Reber MD dental records, which we remember they were unknown in August. I don't know why. There was no dental records pulled up for a missing kid.
I don't know.
That aside, the next method is dental records.
Yep.
And I think dental records absolutely is a great method.
It's a must. It's a must when identifying any drowning victim.
As we say in medical school.
Like, did you bother to even gather any information on Kiely Rodni? Like, what? This is fucking sickening, man.
As we learn in your first year, second year, third year, all the way up through my fellowship and on. Medico-legally, if a document, a medical document, does not contain information, it wasn't done. We can use presumptive identifiers like the age, race, sex, or some physical characteristics of the victim. Markers, we say. Markers like tattoos, markers like jewelry or piercings. So those can be used as presumptive identifiers. And finally, circumstantial identifiers. In the case of Kiely Rodni, she was missing. Her car was missing.
Yep.
The car was found. One body was found in the car. Okay, most likely that represents Kiely Rodni. And then you say, well, can you utilize any clothing that she was last wearing, jewelry, tattoos, etc.? All of that can be used to make a presumptive diagnosis.
Didn't even get her tattoo right.
Not a definitive diagnosis, but a presumptive.
And it makes me wonder, was the 17 because they tossed her around in that car? Could it have been shifted? Because when you sloth, your skin moves.
Diagnosis. We'll talk more about that in part 3. How was diagnosis, or identification, I should say, of Kiely Rodni actually made? Were photographs taken from below water to the point where the car was taken from water, and obviously autopsy, during autopsy photographs?
No,
and how was that done, and was their chain of custody maintained?
You're looking at a very recent photo taken of Kiely about a month before she disappeared. We want you to pay attention to her jewelry. She's wearing very distinctive gold-colored necklaces. 1, 2, 3 necklaces, and we do believe that these were the same pieces of jewelry that she was wearing when she went missing.
Yeah, the plate number was in the autopsy. That's how they identified her. But it did say the serial killer in the autopsy. In the upper part. Yeah, just presumptive, yep. Yep. That shit's so easily put on somebody else's wrist. Put on somebody's wrist. Yep. Presumptive backup plan.
I'll just point you to the toxicology screen, which was incomplete.
We're just gonna listen. This is important. This needs put out there. Not listed. Fentanyl, hallucinogens, Rohypnol, GHB, ketamine.
As we say in medical school, as we learned in the first year, second year, third year, all the way up through my fellowship and on, medico-legally, if a document, a medical document, does not contain information, it wasn't done. All can understand the specific criteria that we look for in a drowning at autopsy to make an argument towards that diagnosis or cause of death, which, as I have said on another channel recently, drowning is often at autopsy a diagnosis of exclusion, when we can't find something that would point towards a different cause
I
of
loved
death.
having her on my panel.
Looking normal. The right lung weighs 100 grams, the left lung weighs 110 grams. Isn't that different? It's amazing how our bodies can be different on each side. Lungs light maroon to gray tan. Lung moderately decomposed. No apparent lesions. Prominent tissue gas formation distorts the architecture of both lungs. Apparently no airway obstruction. Arteries appear normally developed. A lot of normal formation. The esophagus and stomach
Of breathing, but it's related to the sudden immersion in cold or cool water. So I'm going to give you an example. The person is submerged. They do that, and there's an initial gasp. Okay? In that initial gasp, two things can happen. One is aspiration of lake or seawater. In addition, aspiration of the contents, dirt, silt, bacteria, and the like, from the contents of the surrounding water. And when that happens, very often in a process of drowning, a victim gasps and then they go into what we call laryngospasm. Laryngospasm meaning that the larynx, or the vocal cords, which are approximately at this level in the body, in the tracheobronchial tree, will spasm and shut. So you get an initial aspiration of fluid from the outside environs, laryngospasm. And from there, sometimes people don't recover from that laryngospasm, but the contents that they have aspirated on autopsy can be shown, and the physiologic reactions that occur from asphyxia and anoxia, lack of oxygen, will result in bloody tinged, for example, bloody tinged foam. And in a drowning victim, one of the 7, I'm going to call them little star points of the constellation of findings in drowning, is blood-tinged foam. In the majority of cases, when blood-tinged foam from drowning is found on autopsy, it is found below the vocal cords. So from here down into the main stem bronchus, into the bronchial trees, into the bronchioles, which are tiny, tiny, and at the ends of your lungs, the alveoli. So when you find foam or blood-tinged foam on autopsy in a drowning victim, you're looking for foam blood-tinged below the point of bronchospasm. So that would be point number 1. The tracheobronchial tree below the vocal cords, do we see dirt? Do we see silt? Do we even see aspiration of gastric contents that go into the lungs below the vocal cords? It's very important to look at that. And sometimes they can even look at what microbes or bacteria are in the lungs that are growing that would be consistent with, for example, freshwater, lake water that the person is found in. So again, go back to the autopsy. Is there any commentary in looking at the tracheobronchial trees? Are they patent, meaning totally clear, no foam, no liquid, no gastric contents in the respiratory tree, no particulate matter like dirt, silt, could even be, if it were in the ocean, little pieces of seaweed, etc. So go back and look. If it was totally patent and there's none of the findings that I've just mentioned, that would point away from drowning. Finally, I want to one can find as part of the process, even after laryngospasm, one can find a regurgitation of gastric contents and gastric fluids. So in the case of Kiely Rodni, as I recall, there were some particulate matter, small amounts of particulate matter of, I think, legumes and peas in the stomach contents found on autopsy. There was some liquid matter, but there were no particulate matter found like legumes and peas in the mouth area. So the presumption was that the liquid that was found in the mouth may indeed represent gastric contents, although of note there were no food particulate matters found in the mouth area on her autopsy.
The esophagus and stomach are patent, continuous, and normally developed. Stomach contains a trace amount of food material consistent with small fragments of peas or beans. Gas, bloating, otherwise unremarkable. Looking normal. The right lung weighs 100 grams. The left lung weighs 110 grams.
Weights in grams. And what we do is we say and we look at averages. And so the average weight of a person who's drowned in lake water, and of course it depends on the measure and the level of decomposition, but the average drowning victim has a combined right and left lung weight of 1,300 grams, plus or minus about 400 grams. So the combined weights that you would be looking for as one of your constellation points would be,
I'm just listening.
Does this victim have a combined right and left lung weight of about 900 to about 1,700 grams?
Something wrong.
So go back and see what was, in the case of Kiely Rodni, the combined right and left lung summation of those weights.
Yikes.
They were not near.
No. Normal.
1,300 grams. And in salt, then that would be in lake water, freshwater drowning.
Her lung weight didn't even equivalent normal lung weights, let alone a drowning victim's.
In salt water, it's actually quite a bit more. Okay. There are other findings on be prepped and looked under the microscope. Particularly, we look at the
I think Find Kiely was a sick fucking fun game for them kids. The Lord of the Flies kids.
alveoli, which are the very tiny endpoint little airway sacs at the distant portions of the lung. And if those are looked under microscope, there are findings that can be seen with drownings. So that would be another one of the constellation points. The question back to you is, go look and see, were histologic, microscopic evaluations of the alveoli done and documented on this autopsy? Because in the list that I'm giving you, that is an important point.
Have you seen this whole thing yet from Jane's Journey? Jane's Journey uses 3 clips from your videos, and I absolutely love it. It'll come up at the end.
May or may not find on a victim of drowning microscopic changes in the alveoli.
See how important you
that
are
particular to folks.
You underestimate yourself, sir. What was used in this is incredible. Ooh, Kenny, you're in trouble. It's super late. Yep, get some sleep. We love you, buddy. Thank you for being here. Just listen in.
Who may have drowned.
Zero zip nada.
As we say in medical school, as we learned in the first year, second year, third year, all the way up through my fellowship and on, medico-legally, if a document, a medical document, does not contain information, it wasn't done. The point of the vocal cords. If there was blood-tinged foam, that would count as a sort of point towards the possibility of a cause of death from drowning. Or do you find foam in the upper airway? And if so, or if you find no foam in the upper airway, that's going to point away from drowning. Now, interestingly,
nope.
The lungs, when pressed just even with the fingers of the examiner, the gloved fingers of the examiner, the lungs often, because they're so boggy, will bring forth spurts of foam and water. Okay? Was that something that was found on autopsy?
No, and the lungs didn't
this
get
particular individual
impressions from the ribs either, which is something's wrong there. If she drowned.
There are other more particularly specific findings on the lungs proper. One is known as, let me see if I can pronounce this correctly.
Nothing in this autopsy points to she drowned. Everything in this autopsy points to she died tragically and horrifically before being put into water.
Paltoffs or Paultoffs spots on the surface of the lungs that are particular blood vessel tiny findings that you can see with the naked eye that are the result of the physiologic process of drowning, and they were found on the lung surfaces. So were very microscopic punctate, we say punctate like points, called Paultoffs spots. Was that noted on this?
Yeah, 900 would have been acceptable.
As we say in medical school, as we learned,
I don't think she was put in water in no 1.5 hours. No.
All the way up through my fellowship.
No, I think they played a game with her deceased remains.
Medico-legally.
I know you don't want to believe that, but they played a game of Find Kiely.
If a document, a medical document, does not contain information, it wasn't done. And this is also done on, it's actually done on gross examination of bodies of deceased, or of the decedent of deceased bodies, is to look again at the mastoid airway in the bone there are air cells, pockets, and in the middle ear, the petrous. And there are, with not a microscope, but with your naked eye, if evaluated, the mastoid air cells and the petrous in the middle ear can have, and this is about something like 70% or more of drowning victims have in their mastoid air cells and in the petrous, they have hemorrhages that are a result of the different pressures and the different physiologic
that in your eyes would
processes that happen in drowning. And so that actually, of all the findings, other than the CAT scan finding in the sphenoid sinus that I'm going to talk about, the hemorrhaging in the mastoid air cells and in the petrous, in the middle ear bone, those hemorrhages are extremely common, very common, up to something like 70% of drowning victims have those. Unfortunately, on autopsy, probably close to 70% of victims the medical examiner doesn't actually look there. So, but when it is looked at, those folks that have drowned, 70% have those hemorrhaging in the mastoid bone, in those air cells that back there, and in the middle ear petrous bone. So that's extremely important. And the question is there commentary on the mastoid bone? Is there commentary on...
That's the thing, is them stomach contents. Something's really wrong with them stomach contents.
The petrous bone in Kiely's autopsy. We're getting towards the end here.
Nope, no commentary on sinuses. Nope.
Autopsy. When I say virtual, that is a medical concept that has been coined. The term virtual meaning that it is not in vivo, where the medical examiner is actually hands-on looking either macroscopically, grossly at the body, or microscopically at tissue of the decedent, but rather virtually, and that virtually is done via CAT scan. In drowning victims, yes, generally it is a head-to-toe CAT scan, and they're looking for many different things, but in particular, for a drowning victim, the virtual CAT scan is looking at the sphenoid sinuses, which is the sinus in the nose area. You've got your maxillary, frontal sinuses, maxillary, sphenoid sinuses. Those are the major ones. And the sphenoid sinus, almost pathognomically, by virtual CAT scan. This is why this virtual CAT scan or virtual autopsy CAT.
And that's what I'm saying, Patty Cake. Like, if peas were in her stomach or something like that, then that means she ate like the hour before going to the party. So where is the footage of the place she went and ate peas at? But there ain't no creme brulee, which is odd.
CAT scan is becoming so much more commonplace. You find fluid levels, water, within the sphenoid sinus proper. And really the only way to evaluate for that is by CAT scan. And so my question would be, was a CAT scan done? And if so, what did the sphenoid sinus look like on Kiely? Was there liquid in the sphenoid sinus? Now, a lot of people have commented like, oh, well, you know, these are sort of pie in the sky things like a virtual autopsy with CAT scan. And I would respond by saying actually more and more that is being done. And especially in high profile cases, so that, you know, there is a variety, or there are a variety of methods of coming to the presumptive diagnosis of drowning.
Yep. Actually, I was looking at virtual autopsies, AP load-up scan. Okay, an AP load-up scan produces a front-to-back plain film X-ray of the entire body. It does not produce anywhere near the detail of a CT scan. which CT scan should have been done. Yep. Yep. Wasn't done.
It is very often found in drowning victims, and it used to be thought, oh, this is pathognomonic.
They didn't want to do anything on this autopsy that would provide any more proof that she didn't drown. That's why they didn't do the scan. Scan the bones and say, yeah, we scanned for something. Not the right way, though.
This is the gotcha thing for drowning, and that is the pink, bright pink, that is noticed in the gum area and the staining of the teeth, bright pink, in drowning victims. But in the recent literature, what has begun to be understood in terms of why do people who drown often have the pink, bright pink gums and the bright pink teeth staining, it's actually not because a physiologic reaction from drowning, but actually it's a lividity. It is lividity. It is blood that is there, and it's a result of positional changes that the body, the head has made during a period of time after submersion that causes the bright pink gums and teeth staining. If
wonder how long
a person
it takes
has
for that to
that,
happen.
it's thought maybe they drowned, but it's, again, not a gotcha, eureka, pathognomonic finding of drowning.
How much longer is of this? All right, we can do this. Nope, it didn't. No airway. Airway patent. Nope, no drowning. Look, this is so well done, okay? 1, aspiration of water, causing blood-tinged foam below the vocal cords. No, airways patent. So well done. 2, regurgitation of gastric content. Food particles would be found in the mouth and esophagus and could cause aspiration into the lungs. No, lungs and airway patent. Gastric content was only found in the stomach. 3, were the combined weight of lungs in drowning range, 900 to 1700 grams. No, combined weight is 210 grams. 4, did Dr. Gregory Reber examine alveoli microscopically to evaluate for drowning? Answer, no. Were the lungs boggy? Did Dr. Gregory Reber press water and foam from the lungs? How about Strachan? It's not documented. Were the lungs visually examined for Paltif spots? Small hemorrhages in the lungs? Not documented. No, this isn't marked, no. 7, were the sinuses examined? Mastoid and petrous bones for hemorrhaging. Sphenoid, CT scanned for water. No. So how did you come up? Okay? Did this body meet the criteria for drowning? Absolutely fucking not. Absolutely not. Let's keep going.
So he sends his captain, Captain Steinhauer. He's like, Wayne wants to know what you want. What do you mean? He wants to know what you want. What do you want to keep your mouth shut, right?
Really? Who said this to you?
Daryl Steinhauer.
I'm gonna look into Steinhauer.
Really?
Who
said this to you?
Daryl Steinhauer.
Daryl Steinhauer?
Right.
And who is he?
The captain.
In 2018,
The
Barry
captain.
broke his
Now
silence,
there's Captain
which
Brown,
led to
huh?
the internal investigation of Wu.
June 1st of 2002. June 1st, 2002. Yeah. He was telling me, he says, I gotta talk to you. You know, we're sitting at a table like this. He's like, what happened? You know, well, I've been seeing this girl. Okay, whatever. And he's all, no, she's 16. I looks like 32, 33, right?
Right.
Barry wasn't the only person aware of these allegations. Garland Liu, another retired deputy, also discussed the Wu investigation with our journalist.
Well, you know, it's kind of one of those things where back in the days there were people that were hanging out with younger girls, but hanging out's not the illegal part.
Right, it's the statutory part.
Yeah, it's the statutory part, and that's
She got featured. Proud of you, baby. Super proud of you. Yep.
On the 12th of October 2004, a married couple, Corbin and Jennifer Easterling's jet ski broke down 2 miles from shore in San Pablo Bay. It was before dawn and the water was icy cold. After
Look, and this is Reber's second wrongful conviction.
19 hours, they were found by the U.S. Coast Guard. Corbin was suffering from extreme hypothermia. He had pulled himself back onto their jet ski and had his arms looped through his wife's life jacket to keep her afloat. Sadly, Jennifer Easterling was deceased when the couple were found by the Coast Guard. Jennifer's autopsy was performed by Gregory Reiber, who found clear evidence that Jennifer had drowned. However, due to bruising found on her body, he concluded that she died as a result of being suffocated and listed her death as a homicide. Corbin Easterling was subsequently charged with his wife's murder and spent 19 months in jail until a report was made which highlighted the many inconsistencies in Reiber's findings and which concluded that Jennifer Easterling had in fact died due to hypothermia and accidental drowning. Corbin Easterling struggled considerably after his release from jail and 11 months later died from a meth overdose.
Reber, you suck. Josephine Strachan, you suck. Stephanie Frickberg, you suck. No water in the stomach. No water in the lungs.
I have recently reviewed the pathologist's final report of autopsy which listed the cause of death, in this case as drowning. There were no other significant contributing conditions listed. I conferred with Detective Saunier, and he told me there was no indication of foul play regarding the criminal investigation into the death of Kiely. The manner of death in this case has been determined to be accidental. So,
there are a variety of methods of coming to the presumptive diagnosis of drowning. If in anybody's autopsy the highlights that I've given you tonight have not really been found, then it would be up to the medical examiner to sort of take the diagnosis of presumptive drowning and call it that. Or say, I don't see many of these findings, I think it's indeterminate. I am not going to proffer
or control.
Yeah, Mark.
But yeah, so they haven't filled that forensic pathologist. Wonder why? Because it's a place that no one wants to follow in after what they have to sign off for.
Yep.
Don't know. It's possible.
Yep.
the body showed obvious signs of bloating, lividity, and decomposition. There was skin.
It's gross negligence and gross incompetence, yes.
Skin sloughing, and no positive ID could be made due to the decomposition present on the face. More.
Right? Because, like I said, in the whole investigation, all the 20 press conferences and celebration of life and concert in the middle of the search, which means it's all fake to me. They never said we collected pictures of kids at party with Kiely. They never said where her last known place was. They probably have some stuff, but maybe it's not enough to prove anyone to bring charges. And so
in what I've read, the close to 20 pages of information that was published is not consistent with an accidental drowning.
But
why? There was no dental records pulled up for a missing kid, nothing said about the fingerprints, no mention of them being taken, and then she might have also been identified, but her heart. Why? There was no dental records pulled up for a missing kid, nothing said about the fingerprints, no.
Yep, those supplemental report 14 was never released. Like all of these think about, okay, if there's supplemental report 13 and 14 and 15 listed in here, that means all these supplemental reports, like, we didn't get any access to all, but I think there was like 2 listed in here, maybe 3. That's it. All the other ones are, can't FOIA them. I hit. That bothers me, that her number 17 is on her hip. Ooh, hold on. It's bothersome. This was crazy, okay? Okay. Oh, stippled tattoo of the number 17 is on the lateral right hip. So how'd you identify her? It's not me playing his stuff. This is part of this video Jane's Journey put together. I did play his one live from the other day, though. There's that fucking strap. Who put Kiely in Foster Creek Reservoir? Y'all strapped her down. Right there. It's not no accident. It's not an accident. You have enough proof to prove that it's not a fucking accident. To subpoena and warrant for phones and data. Two inches and a lot of weight missing off of her.
Can you share your honest thoughts or opinion as to what you think may have happened?
What happened,
to her?
Sammy?
Do you care to share that?
To be fully honest, my biggest concern is that somebody, and I've said this in other interviews, somebody knew she was drunk, offered to give her a ride home, and they didn't give her a ride home. And they could be across the world at this point with how long she's been gone.
Or sitting right in front of you, huh?
I'm worried that I have a feeling, and obviously, I don't know. I have a feeling that she is still alive and she's still out there and she's still fighting, but that there's somebody else involved, and that's not confirmed. That's just what I believe. I think there has to be somebody else involved in this.
Yep. Picking names to Jeff.
But
it's just so sad.
This some sort of an abduction or even a violent crime or any of those types of scenarios, and then
some sort of an abduction or even a violent crime or any of those types of scenarios, and then
we have shut down areas. We closed off the boat ramp at one point in time to cover cover like certain area and ground and things like that. So
at one point in time to cover up on
for DNA identification, which they totally should. And then this line right here, number 197, says evidence, and I am assuming that this is evidence collected during the autopsy itself, and it mentions brushings, swabs and smears, and a DNA card.
There was,
know
Miss W.
that on the 21st, the sheriff's office came with this incident report where they're saying that no DNA.
Patty Cake of the 17, yeah. It's one picture I don't often show just because I don't like that it sexualizes her. But her in that blue see-through whatever, you can see the 17 on her rib in that picture.
He was taken, and the DNA collection was not refused either. If we look at the date, so this is on the 21st, and then on
Definitely
the 23rd, a DNA card is mentioned.
Okay,
So I wonder if that might be how Kiely might have been identified. But considering that she was identified during the autopsy, how did they run a DNA sample in a few hours? I don't know. I'm skeptical, but that would be.
Pap could have stayed there, right there, and identified her right from the jump. Did they stop him from it?
Very impressive. Let's continue.
You're looking at a very recent photo taken of Kiely.
Yeah, as the skin separates, gravity takes over. Especially if you're sloughing. Especially when they throw your car all around. That'll fuck shit up.
About a month before she
Then you wait
disappeared.
2 days to do the fucking autopsy. Yeah, that'll do it.
She's wearing very distinctive gold-colored necklaces.
Definite Freudian slip.
3 necklaces, and we do believe that that was the same.
More focused on necklaces and small items when you could be like a whole car.
When she went
a whole
missing.
car.
By first flipping it underwater. 2 windows were already opened, and they managed to break another one so that Kiely's belongings flew out into the water. And they were left there for over 2 weeks until a civilian found several items. Law enforcement were given the evidence but never entered the water themselves to see if anything else was down there still. Then
a fake case, like something happened somewhere else, and this is just this tornado of cover-ups on top of cover-ups on top of cover-ups.
I want to know what happened at Boca. Why tow truck guy was called.
I was saying that before I saw Knives Out as well.
Did he help get it to the water?
That's one major thing. The whole
did he leave some shit out?
Investigation, the way it's done.
Added shit.
Letting Sammy
to explain away his fingerprints.
How people said things on a case, and then they.
How many people touched that steering wheel that caused Frickberg to wipe it up?
Like change it, and it's just. You know, there's been, and then even the police, the LE, and I'm saying stuff I said before, so I apologize.
No, her tattoo's not on her hip. It's on her rib. You can see it in the one picture in that pale blue, bustier, fancy, lacy, see-through-y, blue, baby blue top with sunglasses. She has black jeans. She's at the Donner, oddly, the Donner. Sitting right there at the Donner plaque.
They never really, on their press conferences, gave any information on the case. They were just like talking and saying, we worked hard, we did this. If you thought of it, we thought of it. We are looking at everything. Please send in photos. If you have more evidence, let me know.
It typically for us in such, that was extremely shallow waters, and that was rare for us to have that visibility.
It's like going through mud. So these are tough operations.